Every day, drivers revel in the remarkable technology that defines modern vehicles, often overlooking the bizarre features that once promised to enhance their driving experience. From quirky gadgets like car-mounted TVs that distracted more than they entertained, to the ill-fated power windows that sometimes trap passengers, these unusual innovations sparked curiosity but ultimately faded into obscurity. But what causes a once promising feature to become nothing more than a footnote in automotive history? Join us as we delve into 20 unusual car features that did not stand the test of time. Number 20. Fifth wheel for parking. The fifth wheel for parking was a creative feature introduced in the 1930s to make parallel parking easier. This system included a spare tire mounted at the back of the car, which could be lowered to the ground and used to turn the car sideways into a parking spot. It was shown on vehicles like the Packard and Cadillac, demonstrating how the fifth wheel could lift the back of the car and let it rotate smoothly into tight spaces. However, the fifth wheel did not become widely popular. One major issue was its complexity and cost. Installing the fifth wheel required extensive changes to the car's structure and hydraulic systems, making it expensive and impractical for large-scale production. Moreover, the system took up valuable trunk space, which was a big inconvenience for drivers. Although the fifth wheel for parking was an intelligent solution to a common problem, it was ultimately seen as too unwieldy and costly for widespread use. Number 19. The In-Car Toilet. In 1947, Cadillac created a car with a real working toilet. This new feature aimed to help Cadillac drive over 10,000 kilometers without stopping. Major car manufacturers took the idea of in-car toilets seriously during the late 40s and 50s. While the concept worked in a Cadillac prototype, it turned out to be impractical for most vehicles. One big problem was finding enough space for the toilet and a tank to hold waste inside the car. There were also issues with splashing, spraying, and bad smells. Keeping everything clean and comfortable was a challenge. Ultimately, it was much easier for drivers to stop at a gas station than to use a toilet in the back of a car. The idea of in-car toilets was an interesting innovation, but it faced too many difficulties to become a common feature in automobiles. Number 18. Wrist twist steering wheel. The wrist twist steering wheel was an experimental feature introduced by Ford in 1965. Instead of using a traditional steering wheel, it had two small side-by-side rings that drivers could turn with their wrists. This design aimed to give better visibility and create more space inside the car, making it easier to maneuver, especially for women drivers. However, the wrist twist steering wheel also had several problems. The system was complicated and required drivers to adjust to a new way of steering, which many found challenging. Additionally, the small rings were difficult to control at higher speeds, raising safety concerns. The lack of widespread acceptance and the potential safety issues led to its quick end. While the wrist twist steering wheel was a bold attempt to rethink car controls, it ultimately did not last long and was phased out. The innovation showed promise, but did not meet the needs and expectations of drivers. Number 17. Hover car. In the 1960s and 70s, many people believed that by the 21st century, flying cars would be common. Futurists confidently predicted that these vehicles would be available by the year of 2000. Several car companies experimented with this idea, and the Curtiss-Wright Air Car came closest to making it a reality. This vehicle, powered by two 180-horsepower aircraft engines, could actually lift off the ground and fly for short periods. However, flying cars never became popular because of significant problems. The noise from aircraft engines was extremely loud, making them impractical for everyday use. Additionally, these vehicles used an enormous amount of fuel, which was not sustainable, especially as society became more focused on fuel efficiency and environmental issues. The high cost of production and maintenance also made flying cars an unrealistic option for most consumers, preventing them from becoming a common mode of transportation. Number 16. Scent dispensers. Scent dispensers in cars were a unique feature that attracted some attention in the 50s and 60s. These devices were made to release pleasant smells inside the vehicle, aiming to improve the driving experience. Car manufacturers like Cadillac and Chrysler tried out built-in scent dispensers, offering a range of fragrances to choose from. However, scent dispensers had several problems. One major issue was the upkeep needed to keep the system working properly. The dispensers often required regular refills and cleaning to avoid clogging and ensure a consistent release of fragrance. Additionally, some scents could be overwhelming or irritating for passengers, causing discomfort during long trips. The limited variety of fragrances meant that not everyone could find a scent they enjoyed. While the idea of a car that always smelled fresh was appealing, the practical difficulties and different personal preferences led to the decline of in-car scent dispensers. Number 15. Side-mounted flamethrowers. Side-mounted flamethrowers were a strange and dangerous feature in cars that gained some attention in the 1990s. These flamethrowers were attached to the sides of vehicles mainly to protect against carjackings. The idea was that if someone tried to steal the car, the driver could turn on the flamethrowers to scare off the attacker with a burst of fire. This feature was especially popular in South Africa, where carjackings were a big issue at the time. However, the side-mounted flamethrower came with many problems. It posed a serious safety risk for both the driver and innocent people nearby. The chances of accidental activation or misuse were high, which could lead to injuries or even deaths. Although the legal and ethical concerns surrounding the use of such a device were troubling, as it could cause unnecessary harm and increase violence. Number 14. Onboard record players. Onboard record players were a unique feature in cars introduced in the mid-1950s. These devices allowed drivers to play vinyl records while driving, giving them a personalized music experience without commercials and unreliable radio signals. The record players were usually mounted under the dashboard and could play 7-inch records at 45 revolutions per minute, which was the standard speed for singles at that time. However, onboard record players had several major drawbacks. The main issue was their tendency to skip because of the car's movement. Even small bumps and vibrations could make the needle jump, interrupting the music. These players needed careful handling and maintenance, which was not always practical for daily use. The arrival of more reliable and user-friendly car audio systems, such as 8-track tapes and later cassette players, quickly made onboard record players outdated. Number 13. Backseat beds. Backseat beds were a new car feature that appeared in the 1960s. They were made to give passengers a comfortable place to sleep during long trips. These beds were usually foldable or inflatable mattresses that could be set up in the back seat, allowing travelers to lie down and rest while driving. Families and long-distance travelers found this idea especially attractive, as it offered a way to rest without needing to stop in motels. However, backseat beds also had some problems. The main concern was safety. If there was a sudden stop or an accident, passengers lying down on these beds faced a higher risk of injury because they were not using seatbelts properly. Furthermore, setting up and storing these beds could be difficult, taking up valuable space in the car when they were not being used. Number 12. Dog or goat sack. The dog or goat sack was an unusual feature found in cars from the early 20th century, created to carry pets like dogs or goats outside the vehicle. This sack was attached to the side of the car, allowing the animal to travel in a secure canvas bag. The purpose was to keep the inside of the car clean and free from pet hair and smells, which were major concerns for car owners at the time. However, the dog or goat sack had significant drawbacks. The main issue was safety. Exposing animals to the weather and the risk of falling out or being hurt by other vehicles made this feature very dangerous. Additionally, the discomfort and stress that animals experienced during these rides were considerable, leading to strong criticism from animal welfare advocates. While the feature aimed to solve a problem, it raised serious concerns about the well-being of pets. Number 11. Rotating seat. Rotating seats were an innovative car feature that car manufacturers introduced in the 1970s. These seats could swivel 90 to 180 degrees, which made it easier for passengers to enter and exit the vehicle. The main goal was to improve convenience, especially for elderly passengers and those with mobility issues. Some car models, such as the 1961 Chrysler Turbine, showcased this feature prominently. However, the rotating seats had several drawbacks. The mechanism added complexity and weight to the car, which affected fuel efficiency and overall performance. Safety concerns also arose since the rotating mechanism could malfunction during a crash, posing a risk to passengers. Furthermore, the seats needed more maintenance and were prone to wear and tear, resulting in higher costs for car owners. Number 10. In-car navigation. In-car navigation systems became popular in the late 90s. These systems used global positioning system technology to give drivers step-by-step directions, helping them reach their destinations without getting lost. Early models were built into the car's dashboard and often had small black and white screens. Over time, these systems evolved into larger color displays with more advanced features. However, in-car navigation systems had several drawbacks. They were often expensive, adding significant cost to the vehicle. The maps and the software needed regular updates, which could be costly and inconvenient. Additionally, the user interfaces were sometimes complicated and not very easy to use while driving. With the rise of smartphones and apps like Google Maps and Waze, in-car navigation systems began to lose their appeal. These apps provided real-time traffic updates, frequent map updates, and were generally easier to use. As a result, many drivers preferred using their phones for navigation, making built-in systems less relevant. Number 9. Glove Box Minibar. The Glove Box Minibar was a special feature that came with the 1957 Cadillac Eldorado Brougham. This luxurious car included a minibar inside the glove compartment, which had magnetized cups and a set of steel shot glasses. The purpose was to offer a sense of elegance and convenience for wealthy owners, allowing them to enjoy a drink while traveling. However, the Glove Box Minibar also had several major downsides. It raised serious safety issues because it encouraged drinking and driving, which was both illegal and dangerous. Furthermore, this feature made the vehicle more complicated and costly, reducing its practicality for everyday use. The minibar also occupied valuable storage space that could have been used for more useful items. Number 8. Ice Maker. The in-car ice maker was a unique feature that was introduced in the 1950s, especially in the 1984 Toyota van. This included a small ice maker in the glove compartment, which was designed to provide ice for drinks while traveling. The purpose of this feature was to add a touch of sophistication and convenience for wealthy owners, allowing them to enjoy chilled beverages during their journeys. However, the in-car ice maker had several drawbacks. First, it added a significant cost and complexity to the vehicle, making it less practical for the average consumer. The ice maker also took up valuable space that could have been used for more essential storage. Moreover, this feature raised safety concerns as it encouraged drinking while driving, which is illegal and dangerous. Number 7. Glowing tires. Glowing tires were an exciting feature introduced by Goodyear in the early 1960s. These tires were made from a synthetic rubber called neothane, which allowed light to pass through. Goodyear used dyes to create different colors, and each tire had 18 small light bulbs mounted on the rims to produce a bright glow at night. The glowing tires were displayed on cars like the Dodge Polara and Chrysler Silver 300, creating a futuristic and eye-catching look. However, glowing tires came with several problems. They were costly to produce and made vehicles more complicated. The light bulbs and wiring needed regular maintenance, which was inconvenient for car owners. Furthermore, the glowing effect could distract other drivers, increasing the risk of accidents. Additionally, the glowing tires did not perform as well in terms of durability and safety compared to traditional tires. Number 6. Lola Baby Car Hammock. The Lola Baby Car Hammock was a child car seat that was introduced in the 1970s. It featured a hammock designed to suspend babies between the front and back seats of a car. It was marketed as the safest, most comfortable car bed ever made, aiming to provide a cozy and secure environment for infants during car rides. Many parents liked it because it allowed them to transport their babies without having to hold them. However, the Lola Baby Car Hammock had serious problems, especially concerning safety. Unlike modern car seats, the hammock did not provide enough restraint in the event of a collision. Babies could easily be thrown out of the hammock or suffer severe injuries because of the lack of proper support and protection. Furthermore, the hammock's design did not consider the forces experienced during sudden stops or accidents, making it a dangerous choice for transporting children. Number 5. Car exhaust to clean cushions. In the 1930s, an unusual feature appeared in cars, using the exhaust to clean the interior. This clever idea involved connecting a device to the car's exhaust pipe, which created suction to vacuum the inside of the car. When the engine idled, exhaust gases passed through the device, producing enough suction to pull dust and dirt from the seats and cushions. This feature was promoted as a convenient way to keep cars clean without needing a separate vacuum cleaner. However, there were significant drawbacks. The main concern was safety. Using exhaust gases, which contained harmful substances like carbon monoxide, posed serious health risks. Prolonged exposure to these gases could lead to poisoning, making the cleaning process dangerous. Moreover, the suction power created by the exhaust was often not strong enough for thorough cleaning, making the devices less effective than traditional vacuum cleaners. Number 4. Vent windows. Vent windows were small, triangular windows placed at the front of the driver and passenger windows. They were popular from the 1930s to the 1980s. These windows could be tilted outward to catch the wind and bring fresh air into the car, helping to ventilate it before air conditioning became common. They were especially helpful in hot climates, allowing drivers to cool down without having to fully open the main windows. However, vent windows also had several problems. They often leaked, which allowed rainwater to enter the car and damage the interior. They posed a security risk because thieves could easily pry them open. Additionally, the design created aerodynamic drag, which reduced fuel efficiency. As car air conditioning systems became more common and effective, the need for vent windows decreased. Eventually, they disappeared from most car designs, replaced by better methods of keeping cars comfortable and secure. Number 3. Built-in car phones. Built-in car phones were an advanced feature in the 1980s and early 1990s, allowing drivers to make calls directly from their vehicles. These phones were integrated into the car's dashboard or center console, serving as a useful communication tool for business professionals and technology enthusiasts. The idea started in the 1940s, but it wasn't until the 1980s that these phones became more available to the public. Although they were popular at first, built-in car phones had many problems. They were expensive to install and maintain, and the call quality was often poor because of limited cellular coverage and the technology at the time. The phones were bulky and occupied valuable space in the car. As mobile phones became smaller, more affordable, and widely available in the 90s, the interest in built-in car phones dropped quickly. Their high cost and inefficiencies led to a significant decline in their popularity. Number 2. Pop-up headlights. Pop-up headlights, also called hidden or retractable headlights, were a popular feature in cars from the 1960s to the early 2000s. These headlights were hidden within the car's body and would pop up when needed, giving the vehicle a sleek and aerodynamic appearance. They first appeared on the 1936 Cord 810 and became widely popular in the 1980s and 90s, particularly on sports cars like the Mazda RX-7 and Chevrolet Corvette. However, pop-up headlights had several drawbacks. They added complexity and weight to the vehicle, which affected performance and fuel efficiency. The mechanical parts needed for the pop-up mechanism were often prone to failure, causing the headlights to get stuck either in the open or closed position. Furthermore, changing safety regulations and pedestrian protection standards made it challenging to design compliant pop-up headlights. As a result, manufacturers began to phase them out, leading to the decline in their popularity in the early 2000s. And number 1. Floor dimmer switches. Floor dimmer switches were common in cars from the 1920s to the 1980s. These switches were placed on the car floor near the driver's left foot and were used to control the high and low beams of the headlights. Drivers pressed the switch with their foot to switch between the beams, allowing them to keep their hands on the steering wheel. However, Floor dimmer switches had some drawbacks. They were often hard to find and operate, especially in the dark for drivers who were not familiar with the car. The switches also wore out easily because of their location, often becoming dirty or damaged from constant foot traffic. In the 1970s, car manufacturers introduced stalk-mounted dimmer switches on the steering column, which provided a more convenient and ergonomic solution. This shift led to a decline in the use of floor dimmer switches in later car designs. These 20 unusual car features showcase the creative ingenuity of automotive design, even if they didn't last. Which of these features surprised you the most? Let us know in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, and subscribe for more fascinating content.